very much. Thank you very much for coming. Sorry, who? Yes. That's one. I'm assuming that everybody now who has introduced himself, apart from the journalists. Okay, once the minister is here, we have expected the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Uganda Manufacturers Association. Okay, now,
it is the matter in the process. So I think I will seek your indulgence on this matter, and then you do your ruling.
okay, my ruling is, because of the clarification, it is mine. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it's not, okay, I don't know whether you're raising the procedure.
Yeah, I'm raising a point of procedure, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on 17th of June, 2019.
But even then, I think as a senior MP,
Yes.
you're agree that now you're discussing in anticipation.
It's not in anticipation.
Mr. Chair, can we guide that we move by the waiting stage, then you can raise the procedure issues?
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay. The National Environment Act 2019, Rule 76, 2A and 2B, requires a person who manufactures or imports plastic, fiber, or remove from the environment plastic and plastic products. I think that's not disputed. That's the law at the moment. Yeah. And that's the law which is supposed to be implemented. Now, the petitioners are saying that, and the petitioners are the Uganda Plastic Manufacturers and Recyclers Association, UNGA. And their petition is dated 5th September 2019. They are saying that on the 3rd of September 2019, on here, the petitioners claim that Honorable, in his communication as chair of the meeting, advised all stakeholders attending that after consulting a wide range of stakeholders, in their petition actually they complained that they themselves, as some of the key stakeholders in this, that were not consulted. But Honorable Byabagambi advised that they had reached a decision to close all factories in Uganda involved in the recycling and production of plastics, starting with those involved with the carrier bags. The petitioners further aver that this has caused them a lot of uncertainty on whether to start winding down the recycling plans that they were already being forced, probably that they were having to set up as a result of the requirement of the law. They also say that this has caused a lot of uncertainty in the implementation of the letter and the spirit of the National Environment Act. So we thought that these are matters which can be quickly clarified. And that's why we invited you here. And that's why I was saying that I think it should not be a long meeting because we just need to clarify what the law is. So there may be processes that may be going on. We have, and that's what the petitioners are complaining about. And so what I thought we'll do was that we'll invite the petitioners to present the petition. And then Honorable Byabagambi, who is alleged to have said that they are closing all the factories, will respond. And if in your response you are saying that it's not true, of course, then clarification will have been made. So I thought it is straightforward. Yeah.
About the committee, for us, we are not part of that committee which was formed. So the petition was to members of Parliament. So that's why we are here. So we are here. Okay. Whatever you have protested, that's your own issue. But for us, we are dealing with it.
Okay, Mr. Knight.
Machineries throughout Uganda, not only Kampala. But based on what was submitted to us or informed us on the 3rd of September, many of our members here now are in the don't know what should we do. Should we carry on investing? Should we carry on bringing in machineries? Or should we just close? For us, we are fully committed. We are even writing MOUs with Ministry of Trade and Industries. We have also wrote an MOU. We're waiting for the reply from UNBS. And we are also gathering all of us together to make sure that this 30 micron is implemented in all manufacturers and the recycling machine is implementing as a way forward. Honorable Chair, honorable members, all we want to be guided to how should we go about. We have a law, we respect the law, we are under that law. We want to have a proper guidance because today we are called by cabinets. Tomorrow we are called by NEMA. And then there's this NBS advertising which is ongoing on TVs, also talking about this industry and the product of KAVEERA is banned. So it is putting us in a situation where our businesses sometimes are not going on well. Although we are doing all our best to also get down the street there and sensitize the public and collect KAVEERA. There is a huge collection of KAVEERA and recycling. But I still agree that most of our members have ordered some machineries, but based on what took place on the 3rd of September, they are a bit now puzzled. And that's why, Honorable Chair, honorable members, we have come to this humble place to please direct us how should we go about with these industries. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
And there is a procedure to amend the laws. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, me as a minister, even if I'm chairing a committee of cabinet, I have got no powers at all to close any factory in Uganda. I don't have those powers at all. Therefore, I'm very much amazed that somebody can say that we took a decision to close all factories. Under what law and under what powers? That one I don't know. I'm a simple member of Parliament of Uganda South and the Minister for Karamoja Affairs. And we do our work through. If the cabinet not ever got the decision, I can participate in the decision making, but I can't take a decision on my own. Mr. Chairman, secondly, I'm not privy to the petition at all, other than your letter, which is elaborate. I want to thank you very much because you, I think, pointed out the main points in their petition. Mr. Chairman, the discussion about KAVEERA has been going on in the public domain, not necessarily in the cabinet alone. And I think everybody knows the effects of plastics on the environment. So still, there was discussion in the cabinet. And I was tasked by His Excellency the President on 17th of June, 2017. And I want to thank His Excellency the President because he would have taken a unilateral decision as the President, but also is aware of the pride of the manufacturers, the pride of the Ugandans. And he said, no, let us, that we form a committee about, okay, actually the letter is addressed to me. Me, as the Minister for Karamoja Affairs, and reasons why me is that I have been in this process of KAVEERA for a long time. Mr. Chairman, for your own information, I'm a chemical engineer. I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you. I'll read it then I'll give it to you, Mr. Chairman.
And that's just no, we say laying it on the table.
I will lay it on the table. Mr. Chairman, it's because of my expertise in KAVEERA and one of the people who had started factory of KAVEERA in Uganda and somebody who has been making plastic items in this country. Because I started with disposable syringes, audio tapes, KAVEERA itself, etc. And really, being an expert in it, not by manufacturing, but also by understanding the science behind it, it made me the best candidate to chair this committee. So therefore, on 17th June 2019, they wrote Honorable Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture, and Dr. Mwanje works in the Ministry of Defense. I think he wanted neutral people. He wanted neutral people. He didn't want anybody, though there is a technocrat from NEMA, technocrat from water, technocrat from trade. He wanted a neutral people on the top. His Excellency the President's directive on the ban of polyethylene KAVEERA in Uganda. The above subject matter refers. His Excellency the President has directed that the three of you, together with an officer who will be nominated by the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, should prepare a cabinet paper on the ban of polyethylene paper in Uganda. The paper should be ready to be presented to cabinet within a period of 4 weeks from the date of this letter. By copy of this letter, the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives is required to urgently nominate an officer to work with your team as directed by His Excellency the President. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to communicate His Excellency the President's directive for your management. Mr. Chairman, I can lay this one on the table. I don't know whether I have another copy. Wow. Can lay this one on the copy, on the table. Mr. Chairman, manufacturers and what have you, we decided to make consultations. And usually this is the process. You make consultations when you're writing a cabinet paper for the cabinet to discuss. Because it is the cabinet to take a decision, not the other guy. And I think I was fair enough, Mr. Chairman, to involve them to be part of the consultative meeting. I called meetings from KCCA, they gave their presentation. I called a consultative meeting from Uganda Manufacturers Association, and they gave their presentation. I have it here. I called the UNBS. They gave their presentation. I called, you have the list, my list? I called. And also, I called them to the office. I think to me, this was fair enough not to take a decision without consulting the stakeholders. I called them in my office, and they said they will give their submission in writing to me. I don't know whether that submission is already with the Secretariat. You have the submission from the manufacturers? They sent it, and they said they are going to bring their submission. And the consultations are still going on. Even I'm going to visit their factories to ascertain what is contained in their submissions, whether it is true or not. This is the consultative meeting going on. We haven't exhausted all the stakeholders, and I feel it is proper and right that we consult widely and we inform the cabinet from the informed point of view. so that the cabinet can take appropriate decision. Whether to ban, not to ban, that one will be by the cabinet. And even the cabinet, when it takes the decision, the law has to be amended. So which means there's still another process that once the cabinet takes a decision, it has to write, it has to have the principles, and then they will bring the bill to Parliament, and even Parliament by that time, they will debate it. I think to me, that's the procedure, that's how it is. Therefore, I was shocked here that one of the people whom I have been consulting, they are petitioning Parliament prematurely. It is their right. They can go anywhere. It is their right, their constitutional right. But I think to me, they should have waited and finished our work of consultations because they gave their submissions. Where they are not satisfied, they would even come back. And finally, we give the paper to cabinet for the cabinet to decide. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I'm not acting on my own. I have given you the letter. I have a directive from cabinet. And that's the arm of the executive. All laws are initiated, most of the laws are initiated from there. And if the cabinet feels that really the law is not doing its work, or they are not adhering to the law of what they are supposed to do, then they can say, let us amend the law. And that's my submission, Mr. Chairman. And I think I have got nothing useful to add or subtract.
No, there is. You have something useful to add. You haven't, we appreciate that there is that consultation which is going on. But you haven't.
I don't reveal the secrets of the cabinet because there must have been reasons why it came up. And these are the cabinet proceedings. Okay. And they usually get out extract. Okay. And extract acts as a directive. So I think the only information I can give is up to the extract which was sent to me. It is categories of telling somebody that I'm going to close your factory. Where do I get those powers from? From heaven?
But
From who?
From who?
From who can I get those powers?
But Honorable, that is different from saying them, and then you are challenged, and then you say you don't have the powers. What they are saying is that, what did you tell the meeting? That's the issue of contention. You may be consulting.
You know, you can lie, you do what, you will never remove ink from the paper. We have the minutes are here. They are here. I want them to be pointed out because the people who are there that very day, I can tell you the people who are there, Mr. Chairman. I was in the chair. I was in the chair. The meeting was attended by 14 people. I am happy most of these were from plastic factories. Okay? I welcome the members.
No, okay, that's
Everything is here. And when you read my minute number 6, I said that the committee wasn't rushing into the conclusive decision. Look here, that the committee wasn't rushing into the conclusive decision or recommendation to ban KAVEERA, but would rather take time and establish facts to inform whichever decision that would be taken by cabinet. The mandate of the committee was to look at all the evidence and prepare a cabinet paper to guide decision making. This is the minute. I think you can photocopy this one and you lay it on the table also, Mr. Chairman.
So, honorable members, allow me to get back to the petitioners before we open it up for debate. Now, the minister is categorically denying that that's not
on coming to you to explain all this. So, Honorable Chairperson, not to waste time and protocol observed, if we look at the reason why we are here, that justifies the reason why we are saying he stated this. it's not good to accuse the minister in front of you, or we are not accusing, but we are trying to raise up our voice on the matter of this very complex, important industry in this country, employing over 60,000 Ugandans and giving over 30 billions to the government coffers as revenues. So on that particular day, the minister came out and said, I am here to tell you that I'm starting by closing these factories phase after phase. And he told us he's going to start with the plastics directly. He was not categorically discriminating of which plastics, but this time he particularly zeroed on the same plastics that we are recycling, and that day we told him, Honorable Chairman, Chairman of the committee now that we're in, this was not the right way, because all these plastics you are going to ban, or the factories you are going to close, the industries that are recycling are doing an immense job. We request you reverse. But after the meeting, as we are winding up, he still stated it, that I am going to close you down. I don't care about the law that has been put in place. This law, I'll just change it myself. I'm sorry to say this. This is what was stated. Then from there, we felt, of course, this is a big industry. This is an industry employing a lot of lives in Uganda. So if we sat down and kept waiting for the damages, Minister Honorable, Minister Honorable John Byabagambe, Minister for Karamoja. Then, the other manner in which he was consulting was so scarce institutions and the members. So allow me to continue on the other matter. The petition we have. Yes. We will request the chairperson to submit this document as I also finish up my discussion. Can I be allowed to continue, chairperson?
You have some other things.
Yeah, there's some more documents we can still verify. So, Mr. Chair.
In Parliament for 20 years, and I'm not a drunkard that I drink during the proceedings. But my dear friend, I think it is improper that I, as an individual, one person, can amend the law and close the factories, amend the law. I hope you have got education. Were you educated in school? Do you have anything about the law?
Procedure, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman.
Procedure.
Mr. Chairman, I think the way the ministers react.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still insisting.
Yeah.
We need authentic submissions in this committee to guide.
Okay. Okay. I think they've said that they have something they're going to submit. But
You have it on the computer. You can read from there.
okay. But unless he recorded it, may have a problem.
Can they have meetings without
Now,
minutes?
I think what is important is that let them present, and then it's up to the committee either to ignore or to.
They present to you something that is
Chairman,
not authentic.
If what is wrong, there will be members to testify and say, I attended that meeting, that's what they say. Because, getting evidence, sometimes we have known, I've known the minister, I've not heard people making any reckless statement since you are in Parliament. But I've known people in government, including ministers, who have actually made such similar statements recklessly. It happened. So if there is evidence by attendance, I think then, since they are here, because this gentleman is not alone, it's just representing. Yes, representing.
Okay. Same with the other business companies from me, but I know how I'll go ahead and stop this law and continue to close these factories one by one. That day, we also raised an issue, Honorable Chair. He had invited us with about only one institution, which is our competitor, immediate competitor, the paper bag companies. And then we asked him, Honorable Chair, today you have called us to submit with the paper companies. They are nowhere registered. The association is nowhere known in the government system, and we have evidence to that this association which they called us against to give our submissions, they do not have this registration. It was an association which is not registered at that time. It's a paper bag manufacturer association, and this paper, I request the spokesperson of CASITA to help me to have this document submitted to the chair on this table. These are the things which put us in a perplexed position and felt that we are being squeezed now on the wall. We didn't know the interest of the minister at the time, but coming slowly by slowly that he had also consulted other agencies independently, not with all of us, but I have to stand this meeting. See how all of us, I can see UNBS, ministers, and then all agencies that are responsible, all stakeholders have been brought together here, and we are agreeing on a certain position. This is the best way. So we felt by consulting different institutions, paperback, those are the immediate competitors. You went to science and technology in Makere and all this. We felt there was some hidden agenda in this matter, I'm sorry to say, that we needed to clarify with the right institutions of government. And then to the other bit, which should not surprise anyone, and then the Honorable Minister will also know that because of the easy flow of information in this system of government, we are able to know that the members who had been set on this committee to take care of the consultations of the cabinet, Minister Honorable Yabagambe was not part of it. He managed to go in it. We don't know how. We don't know interest. We don't want to haunt anyone. We want just to give a clean environment for this industry so that we can propel recycling and the rest. Honorable Chairperson, I beg to submit.
So is it right, Mr. Chairman, to continue with this meeting in anticipation when there is a process of, as per our rules?
Chair.
But I have to rule on the procedure.
What Honorable Yaraband has raised is the one which is anticipation. Because if there is an existing law, as long as you have not yet amended it, you must implement it.
Yes.
Okay?
So right.
If there is a process of amending, they don't know whether we will agree or not as Parliament, the amendment. So the law must be implemented the way it is, until it is.
So his words were just, those were his words, not passed by any law.
A law is a law.
So we cannot sit here again to discuss something which is...
No, you may have missed something when we were beginning. The sector at the moment in the recycling plants, or whether they should close them. And that's the...
I heard that, but of course there is a law which is existing.
No, once a minister comes out, and that is what we are trying to establish. So that has to be cleared, and then, yes, Honorable Okum.
Two, I think in this kind of meeting, Mr. Chairman, I think we should, because my colleague is saying, no, why should we proceed? I think we should proceed because there is a petition filed. Parliament as an institution cannot just sit by the Speaker directed this committee now to proceed. Now, the point is that I would request you, Chair, that you put everybody on oath as they speak in this committee, so that they may nothing but the truth. Put them on oath so that we believe them.
But Honorable Okumi. Okay, we may come back to that, Honorable Okumi. But
why did you call me here? I don't know why you called.
Clarify why this committee was established. There was a contention in cabinet between me and my colleague, the Minister of Environment.
The Minister of Environment was for total ban, and I, as Minister of Trade, was for protection of the industry. So the committee decided that they should choose a neutral person who was not on either side, who emerged as Honorable Byabagambi, because he has some scientific knowledge about the plastics and all that. So he was chosen by cabinet to head the committee, but both of us, environment and trade, are members of the. What I'd like to bring out here, that the committee's role was supposed to establish on the modus operandi on how we could manage this ban, whether we go for total or we go for partial, what we start with and what we shouldn't, which plastics are harmful. So they were supposed actually to carry out a research, which are not. So there was actually no decision by the committee to close the factories. In fact, even yesterday I discussed it with him in cabinet. And he told me, because I was asking him, why isn't the report coming out? And he said, oh, we are still carrying out some field visits, but we'll soon come up with a report. But there was no decision. This is just an allegation. So it was not the position of the committee. So what is our position? Should I go ahead to say that?
Yes, please.
But what we know, the status quo of that industry. The use of other single-use plastics or disposable, such as straws, plates, cups, salt bags, needs to be regulated. Some of these have to be regulated. Plastic bags are collected, washed, dried, crushed, and recycled into other products. Neighboring countries such as Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania have totally banned the use of plastic carrier bags in their countries. Kenya grants production permits to their factories of plastic carrier bags for export. So now that is the status quo. So what is our position as trade? Our position, the ministry supports implementation of the law, Section 76, in close collaboration with NEMA and UNBS. UNBS is already undertaking market and industrial surveillance to ensure plastic carrier bags are certified according to the national standards. Ministry of Trade and NEMA are developing the program to audit and license recycling facilities in accordance with this. The ministry will closely monitor industries to increase investments in plastic waste recycling so that they reduce on the waste, the plastic waste, which is in our environment. Uganda Investment Authority should stop issuing investment licenses to industries intending to produce single-use plastic products and plastic carrier bags. So it is a phased-out process. That is what we would advocate for as a Ministry of Trade and Industry. Not total or abrupt ban of plastics. So that is our position as trade. I wanted to clarify how Honorable Byabagambi came in and what our position is. Thank you so much, Chairman.
Okay, that's very helpful.
If I don't know whether Honorable Byabagambi made that statement, if he made it as a personal. He was not speaking on behalf of, because he was still consulting. And I'm very sure when he met the manufacturers, he must have told them that this was a consultation. So what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is, I was even asking, why was it necessary to call all of us here? Because they could have a problem of approach the Minister of Water and Environment or NEMA, which would have clarified that the law is in place And this is the law which is operating at the moment. There's no other law. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. My name is Alan Senyondwa. On whether to regulate or ban plastic waste. That is the sentiment which came from members saying, we have spent 7 years. You, our association, together with your mother ministry, have told the Ugandans that there is a conducive environment to invest in this country. Should we invest or should we not invest? A law has just been put in place. Should we follow what's in the law or should we wait until the consultations and the decisions are made? That is the jitteriness, Honorable Chair, you are hearing from the members. It is not whether a law is in place. It is not whether a consultation is taking place. It is whether we have the conducive environment. Honorable Chair, I've just returned from Nairobi to deal where all the manufacturers associations of East Africa have met for 2 days. And we have actually just discussed again this plastic waste in East Africa. We as East Africans and we as Ugandans must begin to make a decision. Do we want to have a plastics recycling? Otherwise, taking 5 years to amend the law, and immediately after 5 years, we're discussing the same law. Just a second, let me finish up, honorable member. Is this, we are talking about millions of dollars which are being invested in this industry. Should they invest or should they not invest? Is the question at hand, Honorable Chair. Just lastly, there is a submission which we have made. We have made a submission to the Chair in this regard. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Saying they are like it's ban or not ban. So the risk of giving you money is so high. But now, what I'm wondering, if the Minister of Environment, who sat with us, this was a law sponsored by his ministry. He came here, we scrutinized. Cabinet gave their views. We went, we did research, we went and did everything. I don't know what Honorable Javagambi's committee is going to do that we didn't do. And also what I ask myself, Chairman, if there were reservations on this law, why did the President assent it in? Other laws have been coming. Can a president, yes, he has been returning other laws, and he has said no, go, for example, the GMO law. We raised our concern, some of us who don't believe in GMO. And he has indeed refused the sugar bill. So this law which the President has sent, I believe it's a law assented by Cabinet and should be implemented. So, Mr. Chairman, from here, can we just give confidence to these people, maybe Honorable Yabagam can help on this, that you people go invest, okay? A law anytime, also what you should know, a law anytime can be amended. But not before it is even implemented for a month, or what? So, Chairman, I think what these people need from your committee and the ministers here is to give them confidence that we are implementing the law the way it is. And once we are sure about that, they should also know that any day that law can be amended, but not before. And Mr. Chairman, I think we should refer, when we had NEMA here, in their presentation, there are clauses of that law which, yeah, that they defined. I don't know whether that one is part of. No. So if it's not, the law should be the way it is. And to me, anyone who dares to say that, no, don't do this, is questioning the powers of this parliament, because they are also MPs. And all of them, the ministers, are MPs. You're questioning your own powers of making laws. You made a law, you're very frustrated. But I have all the confidence in Honorable Yabagam that maybe if the two colleagues, and someone must not be telling us the truth, Honorable Cheptoris, the Honorable Minister of Trade has said there was a disagreement with you in Cabinet.
That's true.
Okay? After the law has even been
No.
assented to.
Before.
If it was before,
Yeah.
all those disagreements were
Overtaken
overridden
by the
by the approval of the law.
She won the day, and I'm not.
And then the doctor will go and see people are doing the right thing. So, Mr. Chairman, to me, I believe what we need to do here is all of us, we seem to be all agreeing. Let us give confidence to our investors.
Okay, procedure takes precedence. Yes.
Which really needs to be put right. I am of the view, and I won't seek the procedural point thereafter, that this meeting be adjourned, that petition be given to our legal team to scrutinize it, and then advise the committee. Because the way we are proceeding now, I don't think we are going to have any headway. We need an advice from the legal team in Parliament to advise us on the petition. No, even discussing this matter. Because then you see, Chairman, I've not seen the copy of the petition. But I arrived late and I'm told it was read. But even if this petition was just read in front of us here, we need to internalize it.
But it's very simple and straightforward. And I think we are proceeding very well.
No, I don't think we can do that. Because for us, we've done our part. As Parliament, it is the executive now supposed to implement it. But now, if you have 3 ministers coming here.
No, but it seems we are proceeding very well. Mr. Chairman. Okay. And I think we've sort of determined the first part of it. When it was said, what was said in the meeting or not said, I think we can now agree that that was probably a little bit erroneous. If it was said it was erroneous, so probably.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't deny verbally. I produced the minutes which were taken by the government officials. The minutes are here, well elaborated, signed. And you are affected. You tend to maybe overreact because of the investments that you have made. But the good thing is that there is no government office or meetings which are conducted without a secretariat.
Okay, so that's fine. Now,
There was a disagreement before the law was passed.
But the law is now here.
But now the law is here. We are not following the law.
Okay, that's fine, yes.
So they shouldn't be.
There's no problem now.
Now, Mr. Chairman, it is very perturbing. For me, what disturbs me is for the manufacturers who say they don't know anything about the law. He mentioned that we need clarifications on the law. The first submission. And I'm wondering, how can you be in the recycling manufacturing business and you don't know the law? What has happened? And then, yes, and you went ahead and said you're writing MOUs. How can you write MOUs on the law you do not understand? Those two were contradicting. And I think, yes, I was noting, and these are serious issues. So, Mr. Chairman, what I wanted to hear from the ministry, are you about to give us guidelines and regulations? It is something you should be working out now. To give details on operations, if you had that, would not be having all these speculations and allegations. If you had regulations and guidelines up and running to implement the law. And the Honourable Minister Byabagan, what you're doing, what you have just explained to us, we did several times. As a Committee of Natural Resources, with the Ministry of Trade, and Honourable Amelia knows that, we have done it several times. So you're repeating the work that has already been done when we were doing consultations preparing the law. What is it?
Should I answer?
No. Mr. Chairman, that's what we're
Honourable members, I kindly request you to hold your patience. Let's hear from the witnesses as much as possible, and then you can come.
And while I was looking at her, I said, are you the people who have come for the meeting for the ban of plastics? Which means they said yes. Everybody said,
Which minister?
So, by the time the meeting started, the secretary had ignited the fire. That this meeting had a purpose of banning the classrooms. And the minister did not miss words. I'm a Muslim, if you have a Quran, I can take oath. When we raised the point of the president signing a law as early or as late as March, and the law takes effect on 1st of July, before it is effected, you say we're going to, yes, laws can be amended, and we are going to amend it starting with this carrier bags. These words, together with the secretary before the meeting started, made the whole thing negative. And as to whether the chairperson was still impartial as he so selected, lost meaning. Even when questions were asked, the mood was the minister wanted a total ban. If you want to take my word, take it. If it was saying what happened in the meeting that brought these people to make a petition, these people have a lot to do. These people know the law, Mr. Chairman, because we went through it, we have gone through it, we have gone through the consultations and visitations. But for whatever reason, the minister emphasized the ban is the one that ruined the day. I say that and I submit.
Okay, General.
Of the law, it doesn't. There's an advert running. If there's an advert running even today, yes, to KAVEERA, and it does not talk about the 30 microns. Therefore, it confuses the entire spirit of the law. And we want to know who's sponsoring it. The one who's sponsoring it is sponsoring the confusion. The second issue, Honorable Minister, we have been to different countries. We have been very privileged. To enforce this law is not difficult if we can have identification what is recyclable, what is not recyclable. And therefore, anybody who's running any manufacturing company now, when he knew the law was coming into place and he has not put the recycling, must be closed. That would be the first step. Close those ones which have failed to put the recycling. And they're the ones who are doing plastics which are below 30 microns. And then we are able to say there was a reason why the law came into place, and there's the reason why the cabinet cleared it that it should be law. But we are not taking action in that direction. Instead, we are sending messages to allow things to go the wrong way. And then eventually say this law was not useful, but because we did not take the right action. So I would want us to speak out today that when we're living here, all the companies that have not established those recycling should either be given a time that if you don't do it within this period of time, let us close them so that it is clear. But now we are leaving them to continue to manufacture what is not recyclable. Now the people who are doing, following the law have done the recycling plan cannot compete with these ones who have not done it, because for them they're doing above 30 microns, the other ones are doing below 30 microns. That's ambiguity, which will make it very difficult to be enforced. And yet we are saying we want to employ our young people. Now we are already having an area that can employ, and we are not.
They could not summon ministers. So that was also another reason why we all ended up choosing Honorable Byabagamba. But the role, the terms of reference were to establish, to study the modalities of recycling polythene bags. And they're supposed to report to Cabinet in 4 weeks. That was also the other terms of reference, to study the modalities of recycling polythene bags and report back to Cabinet in 4 weeks. So that was
Not
also.
amendment.
Not amendment. It was not amendment. Yes. It was not amendment. But to study that. So that is reflected in the cabinet.
Just that. No other terms of reference.
No.
Just that.
Yes.
Yeah, just that. Study the modalities of recycling, polythene bags, and report back to cabinet. Within 4 weeks. That is 3 weeks gone. So we have
raised a lot of clarifications.
Up to you. You cannot just, and the point of clarification.
Is it a dog?
Yes, it is a dog. The point of clarification I am seeking, given what the minister has given us, is that there was that cabinet decision for this report to carry. Actually, the point is that they should study the modalities. To study the modalities. Was it therefore relevant for Minister Biabagambe to go and meet manufacturers? Was that part of the study?
But that's the bit that I wanted Honorable Biabagambe.
No, was that part of the study? And did he meet these people with the entire team?
Can I answer that?
No, that's the clarification.
I'm in the Bureau of URA, KCCA, Wakiso, district officials, Mukono, Mr. Chairman, I was tasked to do a job and report. But I think for fairness, to me it would have been bad to write a cabinet paper, information paper, or a memo, without hearing the people who are in the sector. I think that is very bad. It would have been very good on my side, as somebody who has been in this parliament for long, and we take consultations very seriously. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Chair, the law remains in place until that law is repealed or amended. It remains in force until it is appealed or amended. Simple and straightforward. I don't need even to explain more about this. Therefore, and the processes of amending the law are very, very, very clear. Very clear. No single person, whether of president, can overturn the law. The only thing he can do, if he doesn't want the law, is either to reject assent to it, or to cause the minister in charge to start amendment of that law. Now, sir, in implementation of that directive, me as a simple servant of this country, I consulted and I called this group of men. What she was reading on the paper from the what? But in reality, the contents, okay, they were different. And as she has read the reference. But sir, let me read you the minutes which were taken, and all these people are here. And I have consulted many organizations, and I am still consulting more. How come it is only one manufacturers association bringing that? I mean the plastic manufacturers. It's because they are trying to protect their empire. First, when they came in, I was also accused that I was compromised by the paper industry.
Do you have evidence to that?
I don't have that one, and I withdraw it because there's no evidence. Because it was not captured. It was not captured. But he has mentioned it. Hasn't he mentioned it? But he has mentioned it. That there is association of paper factories and what have you, which they don't know, and what have you. And that's the reason why he mentioned it. But which actually mingled with them. You see, at first he's saying that, why didn't I call them, all of them together? Then in between he said, why did I call them with paper industry association? No, that's a different matter altogether. Because me, I go buy a paper here. All round consultations with all the relevant stakeholders were underway.
Sorry, what are you reading?
I'm reading the minutes, and they are saying. the minutes of that meeting.
Okay, I think that's...
Okay? Okay? I'm reading the minutes.
No, that's fine.
Maybe you can give us...
Maybe you see, Honorable Tayewa, you came in a little bit late.
No.
I had gone through this.
No, but you
Because,
have copies.
yeah, I'm going to give them to you.
If you have copies, just let us know.
Yeah, I'll give you the copies. Yeah. So, therefore, I have got minutes for every group that attended. And every group was given opportunity to put their views in writing. And I told everybody here, and they took here, there is a meeting which will take place to go through all these views.
So,
After going through all these
that's
views,
fine, Honorable Biabani.
yes.
I think, Madam Kiambade, we seem to be having a challenge here, that you have different terms.
Because we never agreed, whenever this issue came up. But this, and that is how this came up.
And actually, when you came in, I thought you were asking your head of UNBS, which Denandina had raised, an issue had raised around that, how the law is being implemented, and how the law is being implemented.
How the law is being implemented, UNBS? UNBS.
And we have actually closed a number of industries that are not following the law.
And those are industries without recycling plants.
There are some with recycling plants, there are some without recycling plants. There are two things here, Honorable Chair. You must have a recycling plant, but you must also produce the carrier bags not less than 30 microns. So those are the two things that we're enforcing.
Chairman.
Okay, and then it comes back to the...
Enforce the provisions of subsection 1 of the Act, which are to do with manufacture, importation or export of KAVEERA. And as the regulator NEMA, we have communicated to UNBS, and as he has communicated, they are enforcing. You will recall that this Act came into force on the 27th of June this year. It has hardly made a year, and under subsection 5 of the same section, a person to whom subsection 3 applies, that is to do with establishment of the recycling plant, the labeling and so on, shall annually report to the authority on the person's compliance with the law. So we have a few months to go. By June next year, whoever has not complied, because you're supposed to be filing with us returns of your compliance, will be closed down. We shall enforce that as a regulator. But UNBS is currently doing its work, and for any challenges, they will be reported in due course.
Okay, now it's open to the...
Because there are so many things that are going wrong. Do you have capacity?
The chairperson, that is a question to answer for a number of years, including submission to Parliament, that the capacity of UNBS compared to the mandate that we currently have is not adequate. Because we are required to enforce so many products, but the capacity that we currently have does not match that. And we shall still be coming to Parliament to ask for that capacity.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ariku.
To His Excellency the President, Madam Molly Kamukama, which is dated the directive on the ban on polythene, in brackets KAVEERA. This letter is 17th June, just 10 days before the coming into force of the Act. When the Act came into force 10 days later, in as far as we know that an Act of Parliament, which is law, supersedes any other action unless, in as far as that Act has been, shouldn't he have been guided by the fact that 10 days later, when there is an Act of Parliament, he should have gone back to the person or the authority that constituted this committee and first of all re-examined whether or not this subcommittee of his still had mandate to proceed, because a good minister should have then advised that, you know, the best way forward is for us to look into the act that has come into force, rather than continuing in August, in September, conducting meetings that seem to be contrary to a law that the Minister of Water and Environment, the Minister of Trade, ED of UNBS, representative of ED of NEMA, they are all saying that the law has just started, we want to try it out. Honorable Minister for Karamoja Affairs, why are you causing so many Ugandans to sit in one room instead of engaging in other productive wealth creation related activities? But we are sitting here simply because you refuse to actually follow a simple sequence of coming into force of a law. Because you came into being on the 17th June, by 27th, the law of this country said you should not be. But anyway, I'll come back to that. Honorable Minister, whereas you had been advised, according to the cabinet extract, to explore means under which we can recycle KAVEERA, I know you are still working. But in as far as I know, you have also met a number of people so far. You just said it here. So, can you quickly help the committee? Because we went through this process before. Tell us any 5 alternatives you have come up with to help us mitigate the challenge of KAVEERA, and how do we improve the process of retrieving and recycling KAVEERA from the environment. Honorable Minister, the other aspect that I wanted to raise before you, you were in Parliament.
I'm still in Parliament.
No, I am quoting a specific incident. You were in it of this particular bill. And I recall that at a certain point when a vote was about to be taken on clause 75, you rose up on a matter for which the Speaker preferred to actually adjourn the House the next day. Indeed, during the debate, as a member of this committee, I had no liberty to talk in the House that day. In your opinion, you were not persuaded by the recommended aspect of 30 microns that this committee was proposing. You debated in favor of a total ban of KAVEERA. Honorable Minister, are you persuaded to believe that you are neutral, fair, and just to preside over a committee or cabinet subcommittee that is looking into a matter for which you lost on the floor of Parliament? If you believe so, give us justifiable cause to agree that indeed you are going to be impartial. I thank you.
You came, you argued everything. You refused. Yes. So who has right to you that you can come in other means? You pass Panya, what, as cabinet, and that we shall change. In fact, you're strengthening us the more. Even the side microns, we shall remove this time. This was a directive from the president to you. No, it is cabinet. And it was a resolution of cabinet. And there are no terms of reference attached on the letter.
There was one.
Okay?
There was one.
No, the terms of reference should be very, very clear.
It's there.
Okay? And then you come, you start telling us it was not a ban, and when the president's letter comes, it clearly shows a ban. In fact, Chairman, I was doubting these people why they wasted their time petitioning. But after seeing the letter from the president's PPS, you know, it shows a ban. It says go and discuss on how we can ban. Huh? It's here. So, Mr. Chairman, I think we should be very clear. When we do our work, Mr. Chairman, I propose this way, that they go back to cabinet and inform cabinet that when you do your work, respect. When Parliament does its work, respect. Because we work together. If you can sit in cabinet and you amend the law, sit and amend. You too. Okay? But if we've done our work, to me, I feel it's disrespectful. For Parliament to sit in 6 months, you're sitting and agreeing on how you can ban, total ban. And yet we agreed with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister for Water and Environment on order for saying this committee is wasting time. But I want to state
I'm
that...
not saying the committee is wasting time.
Shit, we are wasting.
Yeah.
No, our time is being wasted.
Yes,
No,
yes, Chair, that's the reason I wanted to put him on order, but you did not give me time. But I want to state that for the time I've been in this committee, Chair, I have never known you for organizing a cosmetic meeting. And I want to state that the petition is properly before this committee. So I don't think we are wasting any time at all. And Chair, from the submissions of the various witnesses, I think there's cause to worry. So for the Honorable Minister to say we are wasting time, I think is not in order. And you probably at an appropriate time need to withdraw that kind of statement. Chair, it is not in dispute that the dilemma of managing plastic is a very serious one to our environment, and it is what informed the formulation of the National Environment Act of 2019, amongst others. And it's also not in dispute, Chair, that recycling plastic and carrier bags is a legal requirement that requires huge investments, huge investments. So threatening to close frustrates investment. Anybody would get frustrated if there is such a threat. The National Environment Act, as stated by my colleagues earlier, is a baby act. And discussing new changes is cause for suspicion. Because this is a baby act, it has just been promulgated, and already we are talking about how we can make changes. But I want to benefit from the knowledge of the chair of the Cabinet Committee, Honorable Biabagambi, John. For the time you've been in this committee and consulting, I wanted to know whether there are certain lessons you have learned from the implementation of the National Environment Act 2019 that is going to inform your cabinet paper. If you could kindly share with this committee, I think that would be useful for me. And secondly, Chair, the committee that the Honorable Minister Biabagambi is chairing arose as a product of the issues that came between two ministries. Ministry of Water and Environment was going for total ban, and Ministry of Trade was on protection of the industry. But I see the Ministry of Water now settling on the law that we have, okay? But then this committee is still proceeding. I want to know, yes, I want to know from the Ministry of Trade if you are informed, if you are alive of what the law says. Because this is a baby law that you participated in making. And you could probably inform this committee, especially on issues of total ban and protection of the industry, whether we erred in law when we are making this act, so that we can then see how to go forward. These are my submissions, Chair.
I can respond.
Things move on. And the consultations can even take 2 years, 3 years, and what have you, depending on how the population reacts. Because I think the government is there, first protect its citizens. I think that's the cardinal point number one. And then the cabinet discusses, after discussing, if they find merit in what we have got, then they will cause the amendment of the law. But as we talk of now, I myself, I agree there is law. And the law which should be implemented. I'm not stopping the law. Then a committee of cabinet is not a law at all. It's a consultative committee only. It's not a law at all. And that's why even in my minutes, wait, let me first finish this point. Why it is not law, that's why even in my minutes, when you read minute number 5, Okay? I said the consultation was underway.
That means we don't have it. So if
I've given it. I've given it.
Mr. Chairman,
I've
we
given
don't
it.
have the minutes, so you don't go.
Okay.
These are your personal-
So, therefore, Mr. Chairman, as we talk, the law is in place, the law is being implemented, but there is also a directive by cabinet to do some more consultations, which I am doing, and I'm not stopping anybody to implement the law. Okay? So, me, I will report to cabinet. First of all. Let the cabinet decide on their own. Okay? I'm not antagonizing anybody.
That's fine.
Okay.
my clarification goes to what Honorable Media had earlier reported. That there was a cabinet expert which reads like this. That this committee is supposed to study the modalities of recycling polythene bags. Not about ban. Recycling. And in my understanding,
Which is poorly drafted, or is it possibly the letter that was deliberately?
This issue it came in. Already the law on the cycling is in place. Okay? Now, there was a contention whether total ban or continue with the law of recycling. And in their wisdom, they said, okay, go ahead, consult. Now, my committee is not law. On the letter from the cabinet. So, I'm not banning anything, I don't have those powers. My duty is to gather the views of the people, and I take it to the cabinet. Yes. It is total ban here, the ban of KAVEERA. So, yeah, exactly. How you have done it very well.
It doesn't have capacity.
Yes, okay.
Yes, Honorable Minister is very clear. He doesn't have capacity to cause a total ban, to cause a ban.
No, I can't.
He can't.
Yeah.
But Honorable Minister's statement, as indicated by witnesses, is to the effect that his statement caused a lot of mayhem to the and a lot of uncertainty to the investors in this sector, which wasn't the position of government. It wasn't even the position of cabinet. So should it be?
And I want to give you I've given you the minutes are here. No, my friend, I can't be intimidated by censor. No. That's intimidation. No.
Mr. Chairman.
But why can't you let me, Mr. Chairman, why can't you let me clarify? But now,
Mr. Chairman,
order me, I'll just step in.
Please, you keep those minutes of you, because we don't have, first of all, we don't have copies of those minutes. We don't know where you start to have those minutes. So those minutes are out of order. Those are his working papers. So don't tell us those papers. Okay, give me my letter.
Mr. Chairman, I want to agree with Honorable Aliko. I want to agree with Honorable Aliko. People are already in the field. They have created more 10 company factories. And for you, you are just here from the cabinet to come and disorganize people who are already procedure.
Anyway, those are your debates.
Thank you very much.
It will end up coming back on the
Parliament,
yes. As members of Parliament, and the decision will be ours. Yes. It's not a ban on. Yes. I think, Mr. Chairman. No. Mr. Chairman, I'm on my point of procedure. No. And Mr. Chairman, we shall not stop such questions. Yes. We let the minister answer the questions, okay? And then we conclude. And then we shall wait for cabinet recommendations. And I can assure you, this time we will do
Now, you cannot claim like that. Mr. Chairman, we can enforce parliamentary rules.
Mr. Chairman, you have asked questions. You have asked questions. Let me answer the questions. Okay? No, you go. Yes. Okay? So, let me ask one thing. Can I answer? 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 Seriously, I don't know what's happening with him.
No, I'm not attacking you as a person. But you are so people are very good friends, they know you very well. 2 minutes. 2 minutes trying to
Yeah.
Try to be constructive. You understand the issue at hand.
I understand the issue.
Don't open up the new can of worms.
Okay.
The new can of worms.
I will be brief.
Yeah.
I will be brief. I will be brief. One, first and foremost, my committee is not a law. Therefore, it cannot change the law. And my committee recognizes that there is law being implemented. And me as an individual also recognize there is law being implemented. Whatever committee is doing is for the cabinet. The cabinet will get its debate. After its thorough debate, they will either decide to bring it to Parliament or to leave it at that. But at the end of the day, if there is any cause of amendment or what, it is this Parliament that will do its job. Okay? Therefore, 5 alternatives, help retrieving the KAVEERA or not. I have had several meetings. I'm still holding meetings. If there are any, they will be in the form of recommendations. If they are not there, we shall say there is nothing good that we can add on what is going on.
But as of now, what have you come up with?
The only problem I have seen now in the market is inconsistent, because, Mr. Chairman, 30 microns and 32 microns and 25 microns cannot be detected by an eye. What we have got from supermarkets and traders, okay? Yes, they are here, they know. So wait. But wait, you asked what I have so far seen. Why can't you allow me to tell you what I have seen? So what I have seen is that inconsistency, but if it can be enforced by UNBS, well and good. But so far what we have seen, before we conclude the what? Before we conclude the paper. Honorable Tayuga, no, it is your mandate to reject any proposal from the cabinet. It is your mandate. And our duty is to persuade you why we need the law to change. If we don't persuade you exhaustively, you will say, no, we are sticking to our guns. That's how it is. Then on conflict of interest. No, I was debating the cabinet position.
Where?
Because what I was debating that time was the cabinet position. And being a minister, I can't oppose a cabinet paper.
No, it was not a cabinet.
Okay?
It was not a cabinet.
Please don't go that way.
That was his opinion.
And therefore, honorable members, Mr. Chairman, because I have no alternative but to abide by the law. So, whether the law will change tomorrow or then after tomorrow, after 3 years, 4 years, is none of my concern. Okay? But also allow me, Mr. Chairman.
No, you can't before the committee ends.
Okay, so before I conclude, thank you very much.
Before we add Jan,
Others you cannot. And all of them have kept quiet.
And we have a copy of that.
On the cabinet extract. The issue of the letter, I being the Minister of Trade, I'm going to consult further. There must have been an anomaly. So I would suggest we deal with that and we focus on the cabinet extract. And I want you to go on record. I will defend it. Thank you. And I would wish that my colleague at the committee, I'll give my colleague as chair of the committee.
Okay, so I think
There are people who are responsible for some of these matters. The manufacturers could have got an answer from me, could have gone to Viabagambi. Because yesterday, when I got your letter, I called Viabagambi, I asked him what statements he made, and what he has told you is what he told me. So the manufacturers should continue, only that if we find you producing KAVEERA of 30 microns and below, we shall close the factory. Yes, we are going to implement the law as it is, and any other amendments which may come later, you should be prepared for them. Because, you know, sometimes it is good to advise you as friends that the whole world over, people are getting rid of KAVEERA. Yeah, as a friend. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have finished. Now we are working on we are working. Okay, I withdraw. We are working on a set of 14 regulations. 14. We have finished 8. We still have 6 remaining. So very soon, some of these issues will be sorted out when all the regulations are in place. I wish you listen to me. You come later and start. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'd like now, and thank you very much, honorable members, for your work, for your patience and taking on this matter when our colleagues appeal Parliament. I think we've not let the citizens of the country down, and these are things we need to respond to. So thank you very much, thanks indeed. Now, we have this meeting, we have a meeting later this afternoon, as you know. Members remain, okay. Okay, meeting adjourned.
I stopped them. I closed the factory after seeing that it was causing more harm than good. I closed it. You come for this man.
Okay.
Going to read the recommendations to all of them because I'm calling all the stakeholders I consulted. Here are our recommendations. As a committee, as we are taking it to cabinet to debate it. And I think that's a fair game that I wanted to do for everybody. Kura kituufu. Amateeka gakyuka. Ate it takes time kukyusa etteeka. Bwekimanyi etteeka liyinza kutwala n'emyaka 5 nga muli consultation zokka. Naye ekyo kitegeeza etteeka erimu nkola balijjako baliyimiriza. No, etteeka ligenda mu maaso. Naye government ekola consultation okuteeka eryo. Okusinziira ku implementation y'etteeka eryo on the ground. Oyinza kusanga government yakirabye ngu etteeka teyinza kukola ki lugumu ku implementinga. Negamba katuddemu tukole consultations endala. Ate kijja kwetteeka nga kigenda kujja kwetteeka. Etteeka lyo ligenda mu maaso. Kati tali omuntu wena alina obuyinza kujja kwetteeka. Parliament yekoze ki? Yekoze kujja ku parliament yo yonyini yeddamu nekola ki nebijjayo. Government ereta proposals zokka. Negamba etteeka ntwagala kola ki kulikyuse. Bo nibasalamu.
No, they're saying you're consulting on the ban, yet you're supposed to be consulting.
Among them. It is not consulting on recycling. The government, we are looking at 2 things. Because when you look at the countries surrounding us, there's now a total ban. Even China, which has been the biggest importer of plastics in the whole world, collecting it from the whole world, has now returned all the plastics from the origin. You see, here you are weighing the advantages and disadvantages of having it. KCC alone, when it came in, they gave their presentation, okay? The billions of money they are spending on cleaning the drainages and what have you, compared to what the taxes we are getting from plastics. You find that we are spending more than what we are doing, what we are getting out. But I wouldn't like to say this before we conclude, because we have called Revenue Authority to give us the facts about all this. How much they are getting from plastics, the taxes they are paying, and what have you. Now, Kenya closed recently, but it was quite unfortunate that after closing, they permitted their manufacturers to export. And where is the market? South Sudan, Uganda. Tanzania closed them out. So we are asking ourselves, now the government is asking ourselves, are we going to continue being an island in the whole world, whereby we are dumping place to dump KAVEERA, which has choked drainages, has choked, by the way, the cancer causes out of KAVEERA, because people, they use it in the villages even to cover food. And there is a migration of toxics. And that's why, me as an expert on this, I was given the task to look into it. But I'm looking at it fairly and objectively, weighing, putting on a weighing scale, the cons and the pros. And I think consultation is fair.
Which document takes precedence, the one of the president and the cabinet member?
Kakati tubebaza nnyo mwenna lwakubanga mubadde wano mweno komiti ya environment. Mu March ow'omwaka guno etteeka lyayita eriragira engeri bwe tugenda mu Uganda okukola ku bintu bya plastics. Etteeka lyayita president, owekitiibwa president n'alisayininga, era nga tumanyi bw'otandika July etteeka lijja kukola ki? Kukola. Era ffe tuli bagoberezi baki? B'amateeka. Factories zibadde zitandise okugula ebyo ebyuma ezo zibadde tezinakugula byuma bituyamba mu recycling. Weewaawo tuba tukyetegeka, ebbaluwa nejja netubuuza baagala kumanya ebirowoozo byaffe si ku luno ku nteekateeka naye kukola ki? Kujjawo. Tuwulidde ebintu bingi, mbu abalala baggyeewo obuveera, abalala bakozesa woven bags, abalala bakozesa mpapula. Eyo si y'ensonga. Ffe tulowooza mu Uganda ensonga eriwo gye tuyita solid waste management. Kasasiro tumukola tutya? Bw'ojjawo ebyuma ebiyamba okukyusakyusa kasasiro oyo n'omukolamu ebintu ebisobola okuyamba ensi, kasasiro tunaamukola tutya? Omu oyo kasasiro wa plastic waste. Ffe tulowooza etteeka eryakatandika tteeka ddungi nnyo, era tugenda kuyamba buli kkolero lyonna okubeerawo nga liina recycling. Kati obuzibu bwe tuba tetuyina ate mu makkati awo kutugamba mwaligenda. Bwe tuba tugenda abantu ze batadde mu makolero bagenda kukola batya? So kyekyo ekyatukwasa ne tuwandiika ebbaluwa ne tujja wano mu Parliament nga twagala kuyambibwa kumanya kiki ekigenda mu maaso. Weewaawo Parliament etuyambye nnyo, ne minisita waffe akoze eki? Atuyambye nnyo. Etteeka ligenda mu maaso, waliwo cabinet resolution eriwo nayo etuyamba, era ffe tumanyi tukyasobola okukola mu ngeri eno. Twagala okugamba buli muntu yenna ali mu area ya mu kkolero lya plastic weetegeke okuteekawo recycling, lwakubanga bw'otagiteekewo ate bajja kukola ki? Kuggala. Kyekyo kye tufunyeemu olwaleero. Plastics manufacturers bangi bayisa ne mu nkaaga. Kaakati ogenda n'olyoka okikutulamu. Waliwo abakola plastic ono wetumanyi nga ow'ebidomola, waliwo plastic ono wetukolamu owa KAVEERA. Kaakati bw'ogenda ng'okikutulamu, bonna abantu abo balina okuba nga balina recycling plants. Ate nze njagala obategeeza mugende mutunuulire ensi eyakakola plastic recycling obulungi ennyo bagiyita bugirimaani. Tewaliyo muntu ayomba plastic lwakubanga ava wano tumuzza wali ne tumukyusa ne tumuzza mu bintu ebikola ebirala. Kikikyo